Well, thank you, Mr. Cooper. So General Brown, I was looking in 2009, there was a new, but actually an old concept that emerged called the air-sea battle. And this had the goal of countering what was then termed the A2AD threat in the Western Pacific Theater of Operations. And I think it's already been stated through your remarks here today that you do consider China as our most immediate threat. Looking at this threat, would you consider a conflict with China primarily, if not exclusively, an air-sea battle?
I do think based on where I see the threat going, it's not just air-sea, but I'd also say that the first mover would probably be in cyber and space, which is why I'm happy to have General Raymond here with me and really part of the Department of the Air Force that we can work very closely. But just looking at the environment of where, how things, quick things can happen, air definitely plays a role. To me, that's an aspect of being able to understand our capabilities in the air, as well as watching how the People's Republic of China has really advanced their capability in terms of their Air Force as well. And to me, that's why I really do see both air and sea, but really across the joint team and across all domains is where I expect a conflict to occur.
Well, going further with that, actually, they say that no good plan survives the enemy. Well, this plan of developing an air-sea battle, it didn't survive contact with the Joint Staff. So in 2015, it was consumed in the name of jointness, and a spokesman said the missing part of the air-sea battle concept was the land portion. So just think about that. The missing part of an air-sea battle concept was the land portion. So I guess the spokesman both forgot about the Marine Corps and also the concept within the Western Pacific. Would you agree that it is not part of our plan or strategy or thought that we would actually conduct a large-scale land invasion in any conflict with China?
What I really believe is you look into where we are today as a joint force, and you look at the joint fighting concept, you're going to have capabilities across all domains, across all services.
Okay, so
that will
just in interest of time, do you envision a large-scale land invasion in a conflict with China?
It's hard to predict what would happen, but I want to make sure we have options in the future to ensure that we can use all of our joint capabilities.
Since this is a budget hearing, just wanted to shift to your budget submission. Yesterday, we talked to the Navy about their budget submission. One thing remains true from year to year. It seems that each service is getting a 1/3 share. So, in my opinion, at least, it doesn't seem that the next large-scale conflict in the Western Pacific, if that were with China, would require a large standing army. But that's exactly what we have, and that's exactly what this defense budget submission calls for. So do you agree with that current apportionment within the Department of Defense, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 for each service, or do you believe that the Air Force and the Navy require more resources in order to deal with this current conflict?
Naturally, I would like to have more, but I also think it's the analysis that we have to do with the internally the Air Force to make the case for the things that we need to support not only the Air Force but also the Joint Force. But as we look at the joint warfighting concept, how we look at the redundancies between the services, how we look at the gaps to ensure we have the right capabilities, not only for the Air Force, but for the Joint Force as well.
So I wanted to point out an article that came out recently called The Budget and Fleet That Might Have Been, and included in their fleet, Air Force as well, by Blake Hertziger. And, it suggested a small cut in the Army could yield huge returns for the Navy and the Air Force alike. And only have a little bit of time left, but out of this air-sea battle came a focus on anti-ship weapons delivered from the air. So several quick questions. How many bombers do you have in the Western Pacific today armed with the AGM-158? And how many AGM-158s did you request in this year's budget?
I'd have to, well, we don't have a continuous bomber presence in the Indo-Pacific today. And so we have a bomber task force that goes in and out, and I'll have to get you the exact numbers of the munitions.
Okay, and how many quick strike mines do you have in today's inventory?
I'd have to get back to you on that one as well.
Okay, and how many bombers will you remove from the Air Force's inventory this year?
It'll be 17.
Okay.
And that's in fiscal year 21.
Okay, well, thank you, and I appreciate your comments that you feel you need more resources, but the point of my line of questioning was to say that, I really strongly believe that the Air Force and the Navy have a larger role to play in the Western Pacific, and was hoping that you would come here, just as Admiral Gilday yesterday, and advocate for that, because I think this is truly essential to the defense of our nation and what we might face in the Western Pacific in the future, and I yield back.